So we're the Hungry Hikers, and we're breaking down videos of things that we'll be doing on our expedition. The first video that we're going to be talking about is our route card. So a route card is a portable piece of equipment that is split into two parts. These are the route card itself and the activity plan. The route plan is made up of the bearing, distance, time, brief details of the route to follow from checkpoint to checkpoint. On every route card there will be an aim of the expedition. Our aim is to bond as a group and work as a cohesive team. Names of the members, team names, day of the week, the date and other day number are also included on the route card. On our route card we also have to include emergency contacts, which are here. As you can see on our route card, we'll be walking about the day of our expedition to Snowdon. We'll be starting from Linen Cromford Reservoir, all the way to Camping Gwern Goff Uchaf. There is a total of 8 legs, which you can see on here, which are made of sections of our expedition. Using our map and compass, we know that our first grid reference is SH 754616. From this grid reference, we know that the next checkpoint, which is here, is at grid reference 742603. We know that on the map this will be the location of Building Maze Mare. On our route card, we know that the general direction of bearing is 219 degrees. Distance in kilometres is 2.1. Height climbed in metres is 0. We've allowed 25 minutes for this journey. Due to us only walking 25 metres with no height climbed as a group, we've decided to give no time for rests. This means that the total time for the leg is 25 minutes. On the route card, we have also written brief details on the route that we are walking on, so we can look at our surroundings to ensure we're on the right track. From start to checkpoint 1, we know that we need to follow the reservoir to building at the end of the road and path to the left. We've done this so that we can look out for surroundings to ensure that we are on the right track. From start to checkpoint on 1, we know that we need to follow the reservoir. However, if we do get lost, we can follow our escape plans, which here it says return to start. Because it's only been 25 minutes and we've walked 2.1 kilometres, return to start basically means that we'll go back to this grid reference, which is here, and start this journey leg again. Escape notes are what we do if we get lost. We repeat the same steps for each leg until we reach Camping Gwern Goff Uchaf. At the base of the route card, all the totals of distances, height climbed, times and supervisors' names, location and telephone. The activity plan is a part of the route card where in brief details and planned activities are written in more details, which will be written here. Calculating time. Calculating time is worked out by distance divided by speed. Distance is usually measured in metres and speed is usually measured in kilometres per hour. When calculating time, you have to think about the gradient you are climbing. If there is a decline or incline, this may add more time onto the leg or take it away. I've made this cue card here to help me calculate the time it will take me to walk each distance. As our group is made up of young adults, we know that we'll be walking at a pace of 5 kilometres per hour. Looking at my cue card, I know that I need to follow this column here. To find out the time it will take us to walk this distance, for example, if we want to walk 400 kilometres at a speed, 400 metres at a speed of 5 kilometres per hour, we know that it will take us around 4 minutes and 48 seconds. Again, another example would be if we wanted to walk 100 metres. If we look at this column here, we know that it will take us 1 minute and 12 seconds. But we have to take consideration that going up a hill, also known as a gradient, we have to add 1 minute for every 10 metres climbed. On the other hand, going downhill, we subtract 20 seconds for every 10 metres. Other things that play a factor is the darkness. To do this, we halve the daytime speed. As we're usually walking at 5 kilometres per hour, this will decrease to 2.5 kilometres per hour, so it'll be in between these two columns here. We need to take into consideration walking with a heavy load. This means that anything heavier than 20 kilograms, you'll again halve the daytime speed. Finally, take into consideration heavy winds. You subtract 1 kilometre. This means that you'll be walking at 4 kilometres per hour. The stronger the wind, the more kilometres you will take away.
So, this is a map. So we're at the minute we're in Rossington Forest Centre. You do get like little maps that you can find in the gift shop, but for what we're going to do today, you want an actual ordnance survey map. So when you fold up a map and stuff like that, you want to make sure that it's folded up kind of neatly and then along the seams. So you don't want to be folding anywhere that's not already been folded when you first open the map. Okay, obviously this one is quite an old map, as you can see. It's been used and worn, and this bit's kind of ruined. But you still want to make sure you fold it along the seams, because you can tell it's an old map, yeah, but you can still read it, if you know what I mean. This is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so when I'm going to fold this now, I'm going to find the seam, yeah, and you can fold it like that, rather than folding it in the middle part here, where there isn't a seam already, because you don't need to do that. That's just going to damage the map, and it won't last anywhere near as long. So we can fold this down quite small because we don't need to use most of this map today. We only need this part here, which is Rossington. Okay, and we're at the Forestry Centre, which is, I'll point with this so you can see a bit clearer. Use the corner. We are just in this Forestry Centre here. So all of this here, this wooden bit here, that's all Rossington Forestry Centre, as you can see. Yeah, and we're just where down where these buildings are. Okay. Then what to do to orientate the maps to the ground? You want to set the map so it's in front of you. Okay. Understand that? So we could go now, and we could stick north. So the north of the map, where the compass is. So that way, there, the map is in a correct way. Okay, north. As you can see, the buildings here are on my right, and look, if we look over there, what's there? The building on my right. So we are facing the correct way. And if we moved over here, we're stood in the middle of the car park here, yeah. So you can stand there. You can stay there. You can see that my compass, the little red bit there, is pointing north. And the words, so as long as you read a map properly, yeah, the top of the words will always be north. So as you can see, I can read Swaddling Coat quite easily there. If it was upside down like that, this is south of the map, this is north. So we know that way is north, and this way is north here. Orientated the map to the ground. If you want to do a bearing or anything like that, what you'll do is you'll find a line. So we want to follow this road here, yeah? We're just getting the bearing for this. Oh, it's cold. I take this off my neck, just so I can use it a bit better. Let's say we want to go across this bearing here. We want to go across this road, which is pretty much directly in front of us. So anyway, as you can set a bearing quite easily. You follow a line like this, and then you move this bit here, the dial, and it will spin until you were roughly, exactly, facing north, and the lines are going exact. Then what you do, you take the compass off the map, you line up the north, the actual north, with the dial north, and then you aim forward and you look, and that is pretty much straight on north anyway. So it's that way. That's how you do a bearing. But now when you're walking, as we were walking along here now, we could have already pre-checked for any features. So as you can see on the map, there's a building to our right. Okay, we look on the map, and as we're walking, we can see a building to our right. That means we're in the right place. Or anything key features like that. So you could go and find a church or something like that. You look for a church when you're on the map, and as you're walking, you look for that church and tick it off once you find it. You could write a little checklist up at the top here, or you could just remember it and just kind of tick it off along in your head. So if you want to do that, use your map pen, and you could write church. It's not really writing, but church, and then tick it along when it happens. Otherwise, you just rub it off. But yeah.
So today we're going to show you how to cook safely and efficiently for our 3-day expedition to Snowdon. We would be doing it by tent, however today for the purpose of this activity we'll be using these logs here and this wall here to shelter us from the wind. When we do it for real, when we go to Snowdon, we will be positioning our stove away from our tent as it can be flammable with the gas and we don't want to catch fire or have any incidents. So today I'm going to show you how to cook and how to set up the stove and the equipment that you'll need. Which is, so you have your gas canister here, you have your water here, the food that you'll be using, the tripod and stand, and also in this bag you have your mess tins, which here we have two, a smaller one which is here and a bigger one here. You have this which you can grab your food with safely, two measuring jugs and also a pan that you can fry stuff with. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure that the gas is safely on the floor on a flat surface. The next thing that you do is you get your tripod with the stands and you place the stands out like so. So you pop them out, you do normally hear a bit of a click, and then you also pull these bottom bits down. You place this bit onto the gas and you twist like so. So that it's securely on and so that you know that no gas is escaping from the canister. When you know that it's securely on, you then place this tripod firmly onto the ground, push it down a little bit to make sure that they're all clicked in correctly and that it's on a flat surface. The next thing that you get is your mess tin that you'll be placing on top and the water that you'll be using to put your food in. So the next thing you'll do is you'll get your water bottle and you'll fill up the mess tin with water like so. The water only needs to be around that full. You then get what food you'll be using. So today we've got beans and sausages, which is in a ration pack. And the best thing to do is to kind of do this kind of motion to move all the food down. When you know that food is like about here, it's then a good idea to fold it like so. You then place it into the water with hope in, making sure that the food is fully submerged into the water like so, but that you have this bit of flap here so that it's easy to take out with without touching the water. Make sure that you tidy up as long as you go. The next thing you'll use is you'll get a match ready and you'll twist the canister so you can hear the gas. Move the water bottle out of the way. Then get your match and you put it on the stove like so. Now you can adjust the heat by turning it that way to make it hotter and turning it that way to simmer it down. So you would need it about there. The next thing you do is place this on top. You then wait until the food is bubbling and the water is bubbling and you know that it will be a boiling temperature. Yeah. So to make sure that the water and the heat is trapped inside, it is a good idea to put a lid on top to trap the heat so that it cooks faster.
So when your food is cooked, just take it out either with these or using the flap that we've purposely left out. Everything obviously will be really warm, so you don't want to touch anything with your hands. So turn the gas off so you can't hear it anymore, and then use your handle to get the hot water and take it off the heat. Because this is fresh water, we are going to use it for our hot drinks, so we will pour it into these containers that we can use later on. As we've got excess, we'll just get rid of it safely So when you're ready to eat, you take the top off and put it into your container that you're going to eat out of.
Disposing waste properly is important when on a camping expedition. You have to carry and bin all of the waste you produced, whether that be food waste or general rubbish. Make sure you use bin bags and keep your waste tightly packaged and dispose of it when you can. We're going to use biodegradable bags as well, so it's better for the environment. Also, take into consideration where you will put your waste in your tent. Never leave the bag undone, as this could draw in unwanted animals. When on an expedition, personal hygiene isn't just about brushing your teeth and washing your face, it's about looking after your body when in the outdoors. You need to make sure you dress properly and are well prepared for the cold, warm or more extreme weather. Personal hygiene is especially important when camping. You need to make sure that you carry spare kit, for example, socks, because if you're walking for hours and days sweating, or if you get wet feet from the weather, you need to be able to regularly change your kit, or else you could develop an infection, for example athlete's foot, which would later affect you on your expedition. In hot weather, you will need more changes of clothes because sweating will make your clothes damp. Then if the temperature drops later on in the evening, it will not keep you warm. Also, always carry hand sanitizer or baby wipes to freshen yourself up. In colder weather, bring gloves, extra socks and layers, especially keep your hands and feet warm. This is most important. Take into consideration in extreme weathers, for example, it being extremely hot, you will need to bring sun cream, a lot more liquids and water. Might need a sun cap and sunglasses to protect yourself from possibly getting sunstroke. Always make sure that you're clean when you've used your pots and your pans and your mess tins or your cutlery after eating a meal. Wash everything down with hot water, very liquid, and dry everything up so you can use it the next day.
On expeditions, look after your teammates. Bring personal and group first aid bags. Bring plenty of fluids and always prepare for the weather. If it is cold, bring layers. If it is not, bring sun cream and sun caps. You should always plan for every occasion. When walking on roads, you need to be visible when it starts to get darker. Use torches or head torches to be seen and carry an emergency whistle just in case. For the safety of the team, always have an emergency phone in the group and contacts if something has happened that you can't be dealt with in the team. Keeping safe on an expedition is the most important thing. Be prepared by creating a risk assessment so you know all the dangers that are possible.
Every member in the group should be carrying sufficient equipment. Individually, every member should be carrying their personal equipment, for example, food, clothes, torches and any medical equipment for personal use, such as an EpiPen, as well as their own first aid kit. As a group, you should carry an emergency foil blanket, a whistle, penknife and a large first aid kit, which includes all emergency equipment if needed. Make sure you use the correct equipment for the job, plan ahead and always carry more than you need just in case you get stranded and need more food and drink, for example. When carrying kit, make sure everything is inside your day sack, as anything hanging onto the outside may fall off, or if there's strong wind, bad rain, anything outside the bag could get damaged. For example, a roll mat outside of your bag could get wet in the bad weather and then not be any good. All equipment that is used needs to be used safely to reduce any possibility of danger. For example, stoves when cooking, as well as putting up tents. We should learn how to do this prior to the expedition. So think ahead, keep everything secure, use dry bags and take backups to keep everything safe.
Pacings are used for walking on all types of terrain. When walking on a flat surface, we have a natural pace count. When walking a given distance, in this instance 10 metres, we use a certain number of paces. For everyone this is different. This could be for reasons such as stride length or inside leg measurements. We do this so we can work out our paces for walking 100 metres, so when we're walking we can find out how far we've walked by using our paces. Points to note are that pace is not counted every step, every left foot or every double step. On a flat surface of 10 metres, we have calculated that Ellie did 8 paces. Downhill she did 9 paces and uphill she did 8 paces. This is because we change our pace depending on the steepness of the terrain. We can now work out Ellie's 100 metre pace by multiplying by 10, making it 80 paces on flat, 90 downhill and 80 uphill. For example, if we're night walking and we have poor visibility, but we know that we should be turning left in 300 metres, we know that in 240 paces we should reach our destination.
I'm Tom, I'm going to teach you how to pack a bag today. So here we have a big bag. Generally find these used for DAB or expeditions. You see it says 60 plus 10, which means it's a 60 litre, all the other pockets and stuff on it will add up to 10, so basically a 70 litre bag, but the main compartment will fit 60 litres. So what you want to do to start off with is, what you preferably do is get your waterproof bag sort of thing. This is very thin, so you want to get a thicker one. Let's this one there. No. So that's only 10 litres, so it won't feel much. But what you do then is you put it into the bag, so everything inside can be kept at a nice waterproof, even so nothing can get through the bag, even with the rain cover on. That's your general idea there. So what you want to start with is your sleeping bag, because you won't need that until you get to campsite. So that's one of the last things that you get out of your bag. So it can go at the bottom. Even though you've got your little pocket at the front, because you put a waterproof layer in it, you're not going to be able to access it as easily as these. You start off with that biggest thing at the bottom, really. Then you can start putting some clothes in if you wanted to, because if it's some stuff that you're not going to get changed into while you're out on a walk, you could leave it towards the bottom or put it in different places. But socks and waterproof is probably a good idea to keep them nearer to the top, just in case you get nice and soaking wet on a nice walk. Next you can put in anything that's kind of heavyish sort of thing. I mean, when you're out walking, chances are you're not going to be cooking when you're on an expedition. You'll only cook really in a campsite. So what I do next is then you pack that on, make sure everything's kind of flat and stuff, and make sure your food would go in there as well. So you fit all your food in now, sort of things, because you're not going to access it. And then apart from bits for lunch, you stick that in the top pocket. Stick your gas in there as well, just so it's there and safe. Water bottles and things, any hydration sort of things, you leave that on the outside of your bag preferably. All the little side pockets they've got on the sides, that'd be a good idea to put there. This is a storm shelter. You would find this normally your team sort of kit, but because you can't really split it up, you will just put it in the one bag, so they carry less of the other team stuff. And make sure it's nice and flat and packed down. Start putting little things in now, anything like that. Again, making sure everything's packed down. And sorry, I forgot to mention beforehand, but what we did was we made sure all the straps were undone and all really loosened, so you put as much stuff in there as possible, really. You don't want anything tight. If your bag's already set and tight, you won't be able to fit as much stuff in. Things like first aid kits, stuff like that, you want to keep them towards the top of your bag. You could put them inside of this, which is a waterproof bag. put that in the top of your bag really, is the idea of that. Or something like that in a little pocket. Put anything that's valuable or something in there, phones, iPads, anything, whatever you've got on you. If you've got like tracking systems, stuff like that, pop that in there. Keep them safe, put them in a spare pocket. You want to keep your first aid kit near the top just in case you need to use it, because you don't even want to use it in your bag. So next what you try and do is pegs, poles, that sort of thing. Just slide them in really. That's where you want to prop them. I mean, with poles, you could just find it easy. You could roll them up with your roll mat. Kind of have it like that. Then put your roll mat inside a waterproof bag. Stick it on the outside of your bag, sort of thing. But after all your big sort of stuff going, just start putting little bits of clothes in, and then again you've already got your food in there as well. Put your socks in, sort of thing. As long as you've got sort of things like that. Any waterproofs or anything that's going to get soaking wet, you might need to change, sort of thing. Can all just be kind of shoved in. Fold them if you want, by all means, but most of the time you want to fit them into the little gaps down the side of the bag. So at the minute they fit right down to the bottom, so you're creating more space to put more stuff in case you've got anything else that needs to go in. Or you need to carry other people's kit while you're on the walk because they're injured or anything could happen really. And after that's up there, seal off the bag.
One.
So you obviously put your food in. Don't want to seal it because you stick your food in, and all of the tent stuff as well. You'll find that only one person will have the tranger with some pegs maybe. Another person will have poles and an outer and stuff like that. Some will have an inner. You divvy it around just so you're not all carrying the same thing, and you can fit your personal stuff in as well. So now, after you've got all your main stuff in, so that's all your food, all your clothes, your sleeping bag, any waterproof clothes, sorry, any cooking, things like that, food, all of that sort of stuff. Once that's all in the main compartment, you can seal it off. And make sure it's tight with when you seal it, just so things don't bounce around as much. You obviously use that. Next on the list, you've got all the stuff that you might want to access on the wall. So I'll put that on in a minute, but let's say you want to, as night starts going night, you want to make sure you've got a head torch. You can find your top pocket there, put it in the top pocket. Same again, if you need to access your first aid kit, top pocket, that's where I put it. Anything emergency sort of things, top pockets, always. Keep dry bag as well, just in case it's deep and dry. And then anything that's like less of importance really, you put your water in the side pocket here if you wanted to. You don't want it out on display, or you've always got the little, God it's tight. You got your little water bottles, pockets there on the side. And then when you have your emergency rations, you can just pop them in to the other side pockets there. And then after that, you'll seal the bag up using the straps, obviously. Because we don't have 3 days worth of clothes or anything like that in here, so the bag can be sealed right tightly down like that, as you can see. Now, with putting things on the outside of the bag, you've got to be cautious, because if you've got something that could act as almost like a parachute and you're going windy hill, you could go flying off, which wouldn't be good. So, when packing these things, you've got to think, would I rather have my roll mat at the bottom here, where there's straps to attach it to, or you can put it at the top where your bag seal is, and if you're going over a lot of styles, it's probably better to put it at the top. So you'll see on DOB quite a few kids will have the bags, the roll mats at the top. But if you're just going casual walking sort of thing through the field, you're not really going to be going over many styles. You can put it where it's meant to go really and just stick it there. So anyway, next what you'll do is anything that can fit with your roll mat really, you put with it. And then you get a waterproof bag. This is what we're going to be using. Your waterproof bag, try and make sure it's nice and tight. You don't really want anywhere escaping, any air getting in or anything like that. Just flatten it all out. And then pocket where it's meant to go. So there's a little stop point there. Undo the strap. Seal. Same again on the other side. Put it in. And then again, just make sure it's tight so it's not going to go up in there as you're walking over the hills or anything like that. So now I'm going to show you how you put on the bag. So first of all, you put the arm straps on your arms, like so, as my assistant shows. You try and prop it up like that, so you jiggy it up a little bit, like that. And then you start doing the straps like that. And all that does is it stops the bag from sliding down. So if you're stood up and you're adjusting it, it's going to be really low down, whereas you want these bits on your hips. If they're lower, it's not going to fit very well. You want them on the actual hip bone really, resting on that. And then what you do, because it's like that, it's not going to slide down your back, it kind of stays. Pick them up, make everything nice and tight, nice and how it feels comfortable on you. Make sure everything seems right, and make sure these straps are pull tight too. And then the bag, once it's on, you get a friend to come along. And they can adjust these bits, loosen them off, but these are pretty much where they need to be today. Make sure all the other parts of the bag are clipped up. So it's nice and tight, so there's a kit inside. Doesn't move around as much. This won't affect how it feels on your back. All it will do is it will stop things wiggling around as you're trying to walk or go over a big hill or something. There we go. And then obviously you do the same on the other side. Make sure everything's zipped up and see if make sure it sits nice on his back. So he has got a little bit of airflow from this bit. It doesn't need the bag resting on him there, but he does need to make sure all the straps are there. You'll find some people will have a big gap there because they've left this bit up here, and all that does is puts all the weight on your hips rather than distribute evenly throughout on your shoulders. But that's how you pack a bag, that's how you wear a bag, and that's how you use a bag.
The first step of taking a bearing is to orientate the map to the ground. We know that this map is orientated for us as Rossiston Road is behind us. To take a bearing, we line up the side of the compass with our starting point to the place we want to go, making sure it goes through both points. We also need to make sure the direction of travel arrow is pointing to the way we want to go to, which is Caldwell Junction. We line up our orientation lines in the bezel with the lines on the map. Make sure to add or subtract the magnetic variation. We know that because this is a grid bearing, we need to add 2 degrees, making it a magnetic bearing. We now line up the needle with the needle housing, looking down our direction of travel arrow, and this is the way we need to go. Depending on factors such as terrain and weather, we may sometimes need to change our route. For example, if our planned route took us on a busy road and there was a footpath close by, heading in the same direction of travel, we could change our route to ensure we stay safe.
The most important ways to use walking poles is as a method of support. Hiking poles allow reduced weight on your back and hips as aches and pains often decrease as pressure is taken off those areas of the body. Your posture is also improved with the hiking poles, forcing you to keep your body upright. Walking poles can also be used as a full body workout with the weight of your kit or rucksack shared over different muscle groups. Every muscle in your body is working and you're less likely to strain. Using trekking poles also significantly increases your pace. This in turn increases your heart rate and intake of oxygen, resulting in a better cardio workout. Before you can begin using walking poles, you need to learn how to adjust the poles to suit you. To set the length, extend the lower section and tighten firmly at the top. Extend the other section and tighten them, holding the pole with the tip pointing downwards until the top of the handle is just above your waistline. Suit this to your own personal preference. Get a feel for what is comfortable for you. To adjust the wrist strap,
Alter so the buckle is as central to the back of your hand as possible, with enough room to manoeuvre but a relatively tight fit. This should give a comfortable firm hold when the thumb and forefinger is against the handle. Once you have the appropriate height to you, aim to use only the thumb and forefinger to guide your trekking poles. Be careful not to grip too tightly on the pole handle, as this is a common energy waster and can result in losing heat in the winter. Keep your elbows tucked in and close to your body. For uphill walking, use your poles to push off, but be careful not to rely on the poles to pull you up entirely. Try and keep your poles relatively close to your body to improve energy efficiency. For downhill walking, first remove your hands from the straps. The shock system feature would be ideal to engage here if you have your own anti-shock walking poles, as this decreases the impact of the decline. Reduce the impact on your knees by moving your poles slightly ahead of you. For walking on even ground, there are various ways of using walking poles. You can use them simultaneously, moving both poles forwards at the same time. Or you can alternate legs. Each pole moves forward as the opposite leg moves. This maximises balance, or you can use your walking poles in a parallel motion with your legs. It's a really case of trying out different combinations to find the best method that suits you. Pitching a tent can be extremely challenging and exhausting task for inexperienced campers. Setting up a tent is all about location. Where you pitch your tent will have a significant impact on the comfort and safety of your campsite. The most important thing to look for when searching for an optimal campsite is flat ground, because it could mean the difference between a good night's rest and waking up to nightmarish surroundings. You are more likely to achieve a comfortable night's sleep in areas with pine needles, sand, grass or dirt, rather than littered with roots and rocks. Avoid setting up camp anywhere on a hill if possible. Whether you're on top, bottom or middle of a hill, all of these locations pose a threat to your safety. Rookie campers might mistakenly believe that it's a good idea to camp in the valley at the bottom of a hill because of the excellent protection from the wind and sun. However, if it rains, you may wake up in a puddle of water, or worse, in a deadly flash flood. Sometimes there is no level ground and you may have to settle for slightly sloping ground. Be sure to position your head on the uphill slope with your feet pointing downhill. If you lie sideways along the slope, you will inevitably roll to one side of the tent, pressing your body into the tent wall material, creating the potential for getting wet from condensation. Looking for a campsite with natural windbreak. No matter where you are camping, try to position your tent so that the door is facing away from the wind for proper protection from strong gusts. It will be very difficult to get a good night's rest if your tent is flapping in the wind all night long. Plus, if you're positioned facing in the wind, your tent will drastically get colder because of the poor insulation. There are a few supplies that are required when camping in difficult weathers. These are tarps. Your tarp collection can make or break a camping experience. These versatile sheets of waterproof material can create shelter over food, fire, tent and supplies. In many cases, placing a tarp under the tent makes a big difference in the warmth and level of moisture inside. Waterproof bag. At the first sign of rain, make sure that the things you want to keep dry are covered, i.e. your socks, matches and sensitive electronics should be first on the list. Rain gear. Lightweight emergency ponchos provide protection without taking up too much space in your bag. If you are pretty sure you will be facing rain during your trip, invest in a quality rain jacket. Waterproof matches, lighter and or other striking igniters. Tarps make it possible to create dry space for your fire, but this won't help if your matches are ruined by rain. Choose wind or waterproof matches or lighters and keep them in a waterproof container just to be safe. Emergency fire starters. It can be a challenge to get flames to catch on damp wood, and there is a limit to the amount of time you can hold a lit match under the kindling.
Consider emergency fire starters, which will create flame under most circumstances as they burn damp wood dries and catches. No cook meals. Your camping stove is handy for a hot meal in most situations, but wet weather is not usually one of them. While you might be able to heat a warm beverage, trying to cook a full meal can lead to frustration. Consider carrying some food supplies that don't require cooking, and make sure the packaging is plastic or foil rather than cardboard. All-weather blankets or waterproof bivy sacks. Camping in the rain requires special attention to sleeping supplies. You need to have cover that resist water and keep your body heat in, while still releasing the condensation from your breath, sweat, and any dampness that remains in your clothes. Standard sleeping bags don't have all of these qualities, though they can be combined with all-weather blankets and bivy sacks. You are at greater risk for hypothermia while you sleep, so shop carefully for your wet weather sleep solution. Hand and foot warmers. Even when you keep your core warm and dry with clothing and rain gear, your hands and feet are easily chilled. This occurs most frequently when you expose your hands to the elements so that you can handle matches, tools, food, and similar items. The fastest way to get your hands and feet warmed up is portable hand and foot warmers. Some are disposable, some are reusable, and all work quickly to make you comfortable.
Hi, I'm Zainijaz, and today I'll be talking to you about night navigation skills. Although good planning and solid daytime navigation are your first defense against getting caught out after dark, there are still lots of reasons why darkness can catch you out while still far from camp. Head torch. Never leave the campsite without a reliable head torch. LED torches have all but taken over nowadays, and it's not hard to see why. There are lots of good torches out there, but there are a few key features. Models with several light output levels help conserve battery power and help avoid dazzling you when you're looking closely at the map. It's also useful to have a beam that can be changed between spot focus to help you pick out distance features, and a wide angle that's ideal for illuminating the ground in front of you as you walk. A compass. A compass that is easy to read at night is also important. A reflective bezel and north arrow make it much easier, as well as a Roma scale for accurate grid references. The silver expedition compass is ideal as it has a clear, luminous marking and a base plant that is easy to hold with gloves. All silver compasses come with a leaflet on how to navigate, which is handy when practicing. A GPS. Having some kind of backup is also useful for navigating, particularly at night when you can be close to your chosen features but struggle to confirm you have arrived. A GPS device is a great way of checking and can be used to test how accurate you are with your map and compass.
To solve for distance, we need to use the formula distance equals speed times by time. We can see from the distance triangle, to work out distance, we need to multiply our speed and time. This will give us how far we have walked. For example, if we had walked 5 kilometers an hour for 3 hours, we have walked a total of 15 kilometers.
Hello, I'm Zainijaz, and today I'll be talking to you about measuring distance on a map. Maps are useful for more than just directions. They can also help you determine the distance between two or more places. The scale on a map can be of different types, ranging from words and ratios to pictorial scales. Decoding the scale is a key to determining your distance. Step 1 is to find your scale. First, you must know your scale. If you understand the map scale number, that's great. But if you find that tricky, you can still measure the distance accurately. At the bottom of each map, there's a scale that indicates the distance on the map. When you measure a distance on the map, just compare it to the scale and it will instantly tell you the distance. Step 2, measure the distance. You can measure straight line distances on a map with a ruler. There's often one included on the side of your compass. You can use almost anything, your pencil, finger, or a twig, to get a distance and compare it to the map scale. This does have a big drawback. You can only measure straight lines, which are not common in outside cities. Whilst you could take lots of small measurements and add them up, there's an easier way. Just use a bit of string. Try using the lanyard of your compass or a spare shoelace if you don't have a string. Lay the string out along the route. You may need to use some extra fingers to pin it in place. Once you have covered the route, carefully mark the string or just hold it in the right place and compare it to your map scale. Step 3. Calculate distance from the scale. Sometimes you can't just compare to a printed map scale. You might be using a map with no printing scales, or you've folded your map into the map case and can't get to it easily. If you have your handy ruler, you can still calculate distance. Measure your distance using a ruler or string. If you use a bit of string, measure the string to get a distance in centimeters. Now you need to multiply the distance by the map scale and convert that into meters or kilometers.
We're going to be talking about maintaining a dry tent. When maintaining a dry tent, you should take into consideration the weather conditions. For example, if it's windy, try and set your tent up in a sheltered area, for example in the corner of a field sheltered by a hedge. Think about the terrain. Don't situate your tent on a hill or on uneven grounds. If your tent is in the wind, make sure the door is on the opposite side to the gales. When pegging your tent in the ground, put the tent pegs in at 45-degree angles and pull all sides of the tent taut.
Putting down your tent. After your tent is clear of everything inside, you need to pack it away. In order to do this, you must firstly unclip all 4 corners of the inner. Next, you pull out your pegs, ensuring they are all out. After this, you need to take out the keys that are at the end of your poles. Subsequently, your tent should fall flat. Next, you need to take out your poles from your tent. To be able to do this, you first have to unclip your poles from the clips on the side of the tent. Then feed through the poles and then fold the poles away and put them in the bag with the pegs. Fold up the tent and place the poles and the peg bags into the big bag and place the tent on top and zip up the bag.